check out these newly published adult fiction novels from some of today's best-selling authors. All of the books can be found in multiple formats and placed on hold for pickup at the Oakville Public Library. First up, we have In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. In 5 Years is a New York Times bestseller written by author Rebecca Searle and published in March of 2020. During the most important interview of her life, New York City lawyer Danny Cohen is asked, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" She has the perfect answer, aces the interview, and that very day her boyfriend proposes to her. She has it all. But when she goes to sleep that night, she has no idea that when she wakes up, she will be in a different apartment with a different ring and a different man. Then with the news on in the background, she realizes that it's the same day, but 5 years in the future. After the shock of her life, turning her life upside down, she goes back to sleep and wakes up in present day. But Danny can't believe what has just happened, and it certainly felt more real than just a dream. However, she files the experience away in her mind until one day, 4.5 years later, she meets the very same man from her vision that night. In 5 Years is a heartwarming story filled with joy and heartbreak. It is the perfect book for fans of Me Before You by Jojo Moyes and One Day by David Nichols. Check out In 5 Years from the Oakville Public Library as a book, an ebook, or audiobook. We have The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi. The Henna Artist is the debut novel by author Alka Joshi. It is a New York Times bestseller, a Publishers Weekly bestseller, a Toronto Star bestseller, among many others. It is a historical fiction, and it is culturally diverse. The tone is atmospheric and moving, and the writing style is engaging and lush. It is the 1950s India, and 17-year-old Lakshmi makes her way to the city of Jaipur, escaping her small village and abusive marriage. She becomes a henna artist to the wealthy women of the upper class, and unexpectedly, their confidant. She is entrusted with the secrets of the wealthy, but never reveals her own. Until one day she is startled when confronted by her husband who has tracked her down. She has pursued her dream of an independent life, but now everything that she has worked for is threatened. Library Journal states, "The Henna Artist is, quote, an uplifting tale that highlights the power of family," for fans of Shobha Rao's Girls Burn Brighter and the novels of Kristen Hanna. The book list states, quote, "Joshi has constructed a bewitching glimpse into the not-so-distant past, with a tough heroine well worth cheering on." The Henna Artist can be borrowed from the Oakville Public Library as a book, an ebook, or an audiobook, and it can also be borrowed today on Hoopla with your Oakville Public Library card. Next, we have The Lies That Bind by Emily Giffin. The Lies That Bind is written by the #1 New York Times bestselling author Emily Giffin. In her newest novel, 21-year-old Cecily Gardner is feeling homesick and lonely after moving to New York City and breaking up with her longtime boyfriend Matthew. One night, as she sits in a Lower East Side dive bar, contemplating calling Matthew, she happens to meet Grant, and the two spend the night together talking and drinking, and an unlikely connection forms. But it's the worst timing for both of them, as Grant is preparing to move, and Cecily isn't looking for a relationship. But instead of leaving it at that, they continue to see each other. Then the unthinkable happens, 9/11, and Grant disappears. Shortly after, she spots Grant's face on a missing persons poster, and she realizes that she isn't the only one looking for him. The Lies That Bind is a suspenseful and intricately plotted novel that is full of twists and turns to keep you guessing. The Lies That Bind is available as a book, an ebook, and audiobook, and can be placed on hold with your Oakville Public Library card. And lastly, we have The Last Story of Mina Lee by Nancy Ju-Yoon Kim. The Last Story of Mina Lee is written by author Nancy Ju-Yoon Kim and was published in September of 2020. The novel follows Margot Lee, who had recently discovered that her mother has suspiciously died. She is determined to discover the truth, so Margaret begins to unravel her mother's past as a Korean War orphan and an undocumented immigrant, only to realize how little she truly knew about her mother, Mina. 30 years earlier, Mina Lee steps off a plane to take a chance on a new life in America. Stacking shelves at a Korean grocery store, the last thing she expects is to fall in love. But that moment leads to repercussions for Mina that echo through the decades, leading up to the truth of what happened on the night of her death. The book is told through the perspectives of a mother and daughter who have struggled their whole lives to understand each other. It is a powerful and beautifully written novel that explores the themes of identity, family, and what it means to belong. The Last Story of Mina Lee can be placed on hold from the Oakville Public Library as a book and downloaded today as an audiobook on Hoopla. We hope you enjoy some of these new and recently published novels. Be sure to check them out on the Oakville Public Library's website, opl.on.ca, and we look forward to seeing you in the branch.